ho, ho.
Greetings, salutations. Another Monday, another podcast.
Absolutely. At the world headquarters of Armchair Chirpers.
And our great friends at Reboot Repair, Stratford's best computer support and services, personalized IT solutions, hardware, software repairs, on-site business, and services that will help you and your business along the way. We are so fortunate to be partnered with these fine people, Dylan and Cameron. So just wanted to give them an opening shout out.
Absolutely. These guys treat us so well, and we've said it many a times, but folks, if you ever have computer issues, these are the two guys to come to. They make house calls and have saved our bacon many a time. So shout out to them. But without further ado, my goodness, we are super excited to have our guest today, Ian Scoop Denomme. He used to be a former student of myself when I was working at the Rinks a couple moons ago, and Scoop moved the nets for us, and he's moved on to bigger and better things, and holy moly, we are just grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to come on the Armchair Chirpers, and welcome to the show, Ian.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And so it sounds like you've got your hands deep in a project that you're working on, and we wanted to let our viewers know. We've already had people reaching out already on social media how to get their hands on it. And so for those of you that don't know, Ian's writing a book about 100 years of the Allman Arena. And his credentials are, he's currently the deputy managing editor of the Athletic NHL. He used to manage guys.
We're not on.
Oh, fuck.
No, we're on. You just...
Are we?
Really?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
I just wanted to see you drop an F-bomb.
Yeah, Jeff's going, we're not live, and I'm sitting there looking at the computer and looking at my phone. It says we're live.
Okay, we're live.
Oh,
What kind of operation are you running here?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've been putting out feelers for a sound guy or something for 2 years now.
This will help.
Sorry, Razor.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so Ian's the deputy managing editor for the past 6 years of the Athletic NHL. Managing guys, used to manage guys like Pierre LeBrun and Eric DeHashik, and now he's managing the Leaf Riders. So you have all the dirt and the scoop on what's going on in Leafland. And
Center of the hockey universe, right?
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't say that too loud to Jeff. He's a Habs fan.
Oh.
So.
Let you have your glory. What little you have.
Right.
It's all good.
There's not much.
No.
But you've been to the last 4 NHL drafts. You've worked with the Hockey News, Yahoo Sports, covered spring training with the Blue Jays. We're down there in Dunedin. You've been to 5 Grey Cups. Like, dude, like you are like living the life of Riley. And how did you ever dream of pursuing a career like that?
I mean, I've certainly been fortunate. Doesn't always work out for everyone the way they planned, but I mean, honestly, it started right here in Stratford, and I have John Kastner and the Beacon Herald to thank for a lot of that. When I was in high school, I did a co-op class, and basically I asked if I could go to the Beacon and write about sports, and they said yes. And
Right.
so that's kind of how it started, and like right away, you know, they gave me like a little taste of writing, and it went well. And then all of a sudden it's maybe not the most journalistically ethical thing, but I went with my high school team to like OFSA basketball and covered it
Right.
for the Beacon. And, you know, I was just there in Timmins with my buddies, you know, watching
Right.
basketball and writing about it. And then when I left, I went to university to Western, and second day of Frosh Week, volunteered at the student newspaper, the Gazette. And at the time, it was the only daily student newspaper in Canada. And yeah, and that's where I spent all my time. Yeah, and then that led to internship at the Globe and Mail, and off we go.
Amazing. And then
Congrats, man.
yeah,
Oh, thank you.
That is super
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So like back when it was a daily, like are you talking like, you know, actual papers like being printed, or was it online at the time?
It was It was 4 days a week. That was technically the daily. It was 4 physical issues.
Right.
It was still really in the infancy of like online newspapers.
Right.
So my first year, I think we had a website. There was not much to it, but one thing I do remember, and I'm aging myself a little bit here, but in the newspaper office, there was only one computer that was connected to the internet.
Wow.
And so like we
Yep.
we called it the porn computer. It was in the corner. And,
The
like,
porn corner.
if you needed to
Nice.
do some actual research or something, you'd go to that internet computer and do something, then go back to your
Awesome.
where you do typing or whatever. It wasn't typewriters, but
Right.
but then like later that year, like internet connectivity was right around the corner.
That's awesome. It just tells you how far that we've come, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember seeing on Letterman, Bill Gates was on, and he's like, "What is this internet thing?" Like,
Oh, yeah.
like as
It
if
is
it
real.
wasn't gonna take off, and
I even remember that about texting.
Yeah.
My buddy lived in Switzerland for a few years, came back, and he goes, well, we just text. We don't call anymore. I'm like, what's that all about? Good luck with
Right?
that.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And Blackberries were like the big thing back
I've
then.
had my phone on silent for about 4 years now. I don't even
Yeah,
have
exactly.
a ring or...
Well, it's
Yeah.
alarming when somebody phones you now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Like
are
the
they up to
texting
now?
has become so ubiquitous. It's like, this
Exactly.
must be
But-
serious or a scam that somebody's
Right.
calling me.
You got to remember back in the day, though. I'd read three papers a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the sports out of 3 different papers. Right?
Still
Yeah,
till
of
this
course.
day, like I love
Like John
this-
Kastner, Steve Rice, those guys.
Oh yeah.
Robin
Mike
Mellon.
Savage.
Mike Savage.
Right?
Yep.
Like I still till this day love I would prefer a physical Sunday Sun reading Steve Simmons and all of those guys like than
Yeah, but
reading
they
it
want an arm and a
online.
leg for them now.
If you can find it.
That's because distribution is down
Yeah.
so much. They've
Yeah.
had to up the price, but you're right. Like
Right.
it's crazy the amount of money that they
I
want.
think the last time I bought the
Absolutely.
Sun, it was $2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like 4 something now.
Can't
I
do
think.
that every day.
No.
like I remember before going into the rinks, like I'd open up for 6 a.m. So 5:30 I'd head to McDonald's or Timmy's out on Erie Street, and there was a Toronto Sun and Toronto Star mailbox in the parking lot. And so then I would grab one, go through the drive-through, grab like
And it'd eat
a
your money and
sausage
you wouldn't get
egg
the paper anyways.
and then that's when you have to put your foot through the plexiglass and hand them out at work. But no, it's amazing how far we've come, and so it's amazing. Kudos to you, Scoop. To
Thank you. I
get
haven't been
involved.
called Scoop in a long time.
I was
You
just
know
going
who-
to ask.
Well, you know who when you and
Where did that come from?
It was like a
Gary
high
Ray.
school Razor Arena thing. I was
Johnny Hurley, I remember used to
Yeah,
call
I
you
mean,
that.
I think
And-
it was probably actually when I was like at the Beacon and covering the high school sports.
Right.
And then I went to places where everybody was doing that, so
Right.
that the
Yeah.
nickname kind of fell off.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't get the scoops anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you did it that way, a guy walks into a newsroom, hey Scoop, and everyone would all turn and look
Yeah.
at the same time. But yeah, that name just always stuck with me when Johnny Hurley was calling you that. And
Yeah.
so, but so take us back. How I was doing some research, but I'll let you tell the story. How did you come up with the idea to write the book?
Honestly, I've had the idea for almost 15 years.
Wow.
Seriously, I think it was around the time of Hockey Day in Canada. I think
2010.
2010. I think I was working at Yahoo at the time. I just started, and I came to cover it and wrote about it. And I left thinking, man, like someone should write a book about the Allman. Like that was such a seminal moment. That seemed like this would be like a great bookend, literally and figuratively, to the story of the Allman. And so I left that day with that idea, and just kind of sat on it. Like I had one false start, probably around 2014. I kind of started working on it. I spent a day at the archives here, back when it was still over by Central.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
By the jail.
Yep.
And it was kind of a false start. I did some research and then left alone. And then, I lived life. I got married, had kids, and didn't have time to do it. But then with the anniversary coming up, it was sort of a like, if not now, then when?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So I got serious about it and went to the archives again. And that first day, did a bunch of research and had another epiphany, which was I should have started this a long time ago because there's a lot to get through.
Now you're
for sure.
cramming. You're cramming.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, I had this hard deadline, knowing that, that I would have, the whole year of 2024, like officially the birthday is December 15th,
Yes.
Right.
2024. It's like, okay, I need physical copies of a book before that.
Right.
Yeah, so I just got to work on it and started spending a lot of time here at the archives and then just pounding the pavement, talking to people and getting cracking on it. And yeah, it's hard to believe that now it's here.
Like it's pretty amazing. Like you brought a copy in, or pretty much a copy. It's not the official one that he's going to be selling, but we were just leafing through it quickly before we went to air, and obviously most of it's geared towards the junior Bs and hockey and stuff like that. But there's just so many stories that you've uncovered. Some I knew about, some I didn't. And, some of the more interesting ones, a lot of people know about, Wayne Gretzky's first goal. You must have had some fun uncovering a lot of these stories that people may or may not have known about.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you brought up that point about, it's a history of the arena. Obviously, hockey is front and center of that.
Right.
But it's not, a history of the Stratford Cultons. It's not a history of the Stratford Hockey Club.
Right.
It's, there's tons of hockey in here, of course, but I've tried to, cover everything.
I didn't see any Festival City days in there. No, I'm just kidding.
Only you bring up Festival
Yeah.
City days.
No JJ, I
That's
guess.
what I learned in my research.
But you really caught lightning in a bottle with the 100th anniversary of the arena and then the 50th anniversary of the Stratford Hockey Club this year.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a perfect time to get this book out.
For
Absolutely.
sure. Oh,
Yeah.
and it's before Christmas too.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone would want this for a gift, right?
That's a
Stocking
hint.
stuffer.
It's a coincidence.
My
right?
my wife won't listen to this, so I'll just have to tell her anyway.
But no, you talked about some of the stories. One of the big ones that stood out for me that I didn't know about, and I even found kind of late in my research by accident, was that the Toronto Maple Leafs played an exhibition game at the arena, 1952. That was something I'd never heard about, and and then seeing the names of guys who played in that game. Like Johnny Bauer, though he wasn't playing for the Leafs.
Right.
The game was because the Cleveland Barons AHL team was hosting its spring training camp here in Stratford.
Okay.
And so they brought the Leafs and Rangers to town for exhibition games. But like Tim Horton played in that game. Ted Kennedy.
Unreal.
I don't know the list off the top
The
of my
legends.
head. But legends,
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers.
Right.
Was that Howie Meeker?
It was.
I think Howie was,
It might have
that
been.
52?
Yeah.
maybe.
because he played here in town.
Yes, and then
As well,
then
so,
played for the Leafs.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'd never heard that and thought that was pretty cool. Like 3,000 people watching the Leafs, and similarly there was the Montreal Canadiens had a Howie Morenz benefit game here.
Right.
That was an inter-squad game where they had their veteran players play against their younger or rookie players. But that was a few days after the big Morenz benefit in Montreal.
Right.
So they came, then had a game here, practiced on the Sunday, and then went back to Montreal.
I remember being at a World Junior game at the main arena, I think in 85, 86. I saw Czechoslovakia against Sweden.
Yep.
Yes.
Packed house.
Yeah.
Bobby Clark was there. I mean, I was severely young, but just even those type of events, I was a little bit too young to remember, but I do still have the ticket stub from that. Anyways, not to
The
steal.
coolest story about that World Junior game that I found was after the game. So Sweden won 3-2, I believe.
Yep.
And they played. So as they typically do in international hockey, they don't play anthems before the game. They
They
play
play it after.
Right.
the winner.
Yep.
Well, they played the wrong anthem. And not only did they,
That I remember.
Yes.
but they played the Soviet anthem.
Yeah.
Oh my
So, like,
God.
Sweden wins. They've just beaten Czechoslovakia, who are being occupied by the Soviet Union.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And they play the Soviet anthem.
Oh
And-
jeez.
and
Poor
again-
Noof.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, what a pig's trick.
We saw him
Connor
Saturday.
McDavid played here with
Yep.
the Erie
Yeah.
Otters.
Oh,
Yep.
what a treat!
That's here. There's a great photo of
and against
The
Marner.
shootout. The shootout. That was, yeah.
Great photo of Marner and
an awesome-
McDavid
yep.
facing off against each other.
I worked that
That's,
game, and I had heard all about. Like, I don't follow the O, as much back then as I do now, and it was really interesting because you had a guy on, I forget his name. He was playing for the Culletons, and he was playing
24, yeah.
Yeah, and he was trying out for the Knights, and he was telling me, Razor, wait till you see this McDavid kid. And I said, I've been hearing about him, but with him being in the States, and I don't get to London or Kitchener.
Les, who
often.
was that had the camp with London that season where Trevor Sauter was still playing, and I could see him. He was a redhead,
Yes, right hand shot.
right hand shot.
Is that Conadare?
No.
Someone needs to type that into the chat. And,
But I remember. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
What
his
year
name.
was that?
The game was September 2014.
Okay, so yeah,
There you go.
maybe
It
look
was,
up the
it was
team.
McDavid and Marner's draft years.
Yep.
So they would have been drafted. In
Was
the,
he a defenseman?
No, he was a
He
right
played
winger.
with Trevor Sauter.
So he, I'm watching Marner, and because I had seen him on highlights with the Knights, and I was going, wow, this kid's really good. And then all of a sudden, McDavid would pick up the puck in the neutral zone and would just take off like a rocket, and I was just blown away because you just don't see that acceleration, that way. And obviously, everyone in the NHL got a taste of that in a couple of years, but. Just
And
unbelievable.
He did that all the way through. I mean, even when Holly references the juniors in Toronto, I was at the one game there in the semis, and there was the tournament, and then there was about 8 more gears, and then there was Connor McDavid. Like it wasn't even
crazy.
close.
Yeah. And,
Wasn't even close.
And even like his peers today, like when they vote, like who the best player is and stuff, he wins by a landslide.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, other guys have really good years. They have career years.
Right.
They
Yeah.
have MVP years, and then they're still just McDavid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's humble about it. Like he's like an aw shucks type of guy. But it's very, very cool that so many great players have come through and played at the Allman, the past, the 80s, Ed Olchuk, even though he was only here for one stop, like, I don't know if you remember a whole lot when he played Scoop, but
I think I was in the womb.
Okay. I'm dating myself, but
Just really quickly, so you told us a little bit of a story about Ed Olchuk in a conversation that you had with him about the book. Did you want to just touch on that a little
absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, like Razor said, Ed Olchuk spent 1 year in Stratford, and it's amazing to hear him talk about that year with such reverence. Like 1 year as a 16-year-old before he went to the Olympic team and like third overall pick and this long NHL career, but he'll still talk about Stratford like it was yesterday,
Right.
and how much he loved it. So Jeff, what I was saying before was Eddie Olchuk was one of the first calls I made when I started the project. It was like, a big name I wanted to get out of the way, and talking to him was really the moment where I knew I could do this. Like there was something here, that there was a whole book here.
right.
Just again, the way he spoke about Stratford and the team and the arena, with such, again, reverence and awe and so much love still.
Yeah.
To hear him say, "Oh, it still feels like home," and I came back and I sat in my old stall and the rink still smells the same and it made me feel good. Like that's the kind of, like, that's catnip for me, like trying to
Yeah.
write something,
Right.
And he even took the time when he was having a heyday, when he was playing for the Leafs. He came back for basically an Eddie Olchuk night. And my brother actually has his original jersey from that one season that he was here. And I went to get it signed, and he goes, "Unbelievable." He goes, "That's my original jersey." And I go, "Yeah, I thought the Beacon Herald might take a picture. No, they took some other picture. Well, I won't get into that. Mitch Brooks, is that who it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mitch Brooks, good
Mitch
call.
Brooks was the player that we were referring to that was playing for the London Knights.
Oh my
when
God.
McDavid. Sorry to be all over the place.
Yeah,
here.
no.
But so it went well. Obviously passionate, and you're feeling the love and understanding that.
Again, there was it was just very motivating to hear that from a guy like Eddie.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me a push to.
Did he give you
Let's keep
any
going.
leads on any horses that you could bet on?
Loves his ponies.
Yeah, does he?
Loves betting on the ponies. I guess the guys, the keepers with the cup, were a little uneasy. Rumor has it when New York won in '94, his day with the cup, he took it to the races.
Wow.
Well, he owns a few horses, and so I guess he filled it up with food, and he was letting the horses eat out of it. And a couple of the guys are like, "Yeah, I don't know if this is a good idea," but just
Feels
such
like-
a
feels like
solid
there-
guy.
Yeah, it feels like there's been worse.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Horse feed probably isn't the worst thing that's been in there.
It's not in the top 10.
Well, I was when Tim had it here. Well, he's had it here 3 times, but the one time I was talking with the guys, and we were at a house party, and it just over drinks, and I said, I'm sure you've been asked this a gazillion times, but like, what happens to the cup after it's been around all over the world, Russia? And he goes, we actually take it apart. He said, because like it gets dented, and he goes, guys like are drinking and
It's so grimy.
right, yeah, and so they take it apart, and they said that when Pittsburgh won it the one year, Phil, what was his name?
Oh, Phil Bork.
Phil Bork,
Yeah.
wild man.
Yeah.
So I guess at Lemieux's place, they were partying and they're diving, off
pool,
into the pool. And Phil Bork somehow got the bottom off and inscribed his name on the inside of the cup. So they had to like polish all of that off, put it back together. Like it was interesting, the stories that Phil Pritchard was able to tell about it.
Yeah,
But
it's funny you mentioned, Tim Taylor Stanley Cup house parties. When I was in high school, like toward the end of high school, my family lived right across the street from him on McGregor.
okay,
When he won the cup with
Detroit.
with the Lightning.
Oh, the Lightning.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
I remember I must have been, or maybe I was even home from university. Either way, I was spending the summer working at Fram, and I was working like the overnight shift.
Okay.
And I remember I left for work at at like 10 p.m.
Right.
and they were across the street partying. And then I came home at 7 a.m. and they were still like, I
partying.
could see them in the windows, still partying.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Like I just think it hadn't stopped in the 8 hours I was gone.
He was actually he was over clear when he was on here explaining about his experiences when he gets his opportunities once he's won the cup, and it's a long shift.
Yes.
There's a few of them. So some stories can be told, some just stay in the vault. But I just wanted to just follow up with you, Ian, with this impressive opportunity that consumers are going to have here. When you were going through 100 years is a long time, were you able to track it all the way back to its infancy and when they erected it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Again, I had a lot of help at the archives. Everyone there was great. Then there comes a time I had to go through the microfilm.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys
The
have,
microfiche.
yeah, if you've ever worked with that,
Yep.
it's very tedious. Technology helps a little bit. It's it's on a computer screen and you flip pages, but it's not searchable. So you have to go in with a date and kind of know exactly what
Yep.
you're looking for. And I didn't really have that. So the one day I went to the archives and I grabbed the roll for January 1924 and just started flipping.
Wow.
And luckily, I believe January 9th, 1924, so like early in that year I was looking at, there was a front page story about this arena coming. And then I just kind of kept flipping through because every few days there'd be more news. So
Right.
it was, arena announced and then location announced and all the follow-up news that came with it. So, so that was fun to track that first year.
And that would have been the time when it was a complete CN town, correct? Like the trains
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It
Yeah,
would
for
it
sure.
had nothing to do with the festival. That didn't come until 52, but
Yeah, that's right. It was.
Yeah.
I've got some interesting stories about the rink that preceded it, the Waterloo Street rink. It was a natural ice surface, and as Stratford became more and more of a hockey town, and the teams were good,
Right.
like they were missing out on revenue in games because they couldn't have ice. So they would sometimes play playoff games in London, and they would run a special train to go from Stratford to London. You go to the hockey game, jump back on the train,
Wow.
and come back.
I did not know
Yeah.
any of this.
So
Yeah.
talking about the opening of the arena, before the thing we were talking about, there's the argument which arena's been in continuous use longer, the William Allman Arena or the Galt Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done some research on that. And like the Galt Gardens it's a grand arena with, especially they finally got rid of that old acoustic ceiling.
Okay.
So now it's all natural cedar and everything in there. But pretty much the only thing original that when I was down there the last time is the front facade
Yeah.
on that building.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful
Yeah.
facade. It's you can be envious of that. But yeah, so the Galt Garden opened in January 1922, so almost 2 full years before here in Stratford. And they boast about being the oldest continuously operated arena. And that's where some of the contention comes in between Stratford and Cambridge, because Cambridge did a big renovation in the mid-90s, I think 96, and multiple people told me that it closed for 2 years while they did these renovations.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that the Cambridge Winterhawks didn't play there for 2 years, but I couldn't confirm whether it actually closed for 2 years and never had ice and never had
'cause
minor hockey or
Functionality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whether it never had functionality. I poured through newspaper archives and just couldn't nail that down.
Right.
So whereas we all know Stratford never closed, it had lots of renos.
Yep.
Razor, as well as anyone, there was always hockey in that arena.
Yep.
every winter since 1924.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's some contentiousness there between.
Les, do you remember where they played when it was supposedly shut down in the mid-90s?
Which
The Winterhawks?
Hespler?
Hespler.
Okay.
They played
Yeah.
out of Hespler for 2 years.
Okay. So that, I mean,
It's
it's
It's-
so much
but-
information.
so you go into that, like the front facade is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And the cedar roof, like when I was talking to an older gentleman there, and he said when they renovated it, they took the acoustic ceiling down and they were going to tear the roof off.
Okay.
And then a guy's up there with a sandblaster, and he blasts it. He goes, "This is all cedar." So they ended up just shoring up the roof and keeping it, but the whole ice surface, the whole bowl was replaced, and they've gone to the plastic seating and all stuff like that. But it's a beautiful arena.
Yeah, and all that stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
Stratford made an effort to not do that.
Yep.
Dan Matheson told me a story about the architects coming in and walking around the arena, coming back with their report and saying, "Here's what we're going to do. Nothing. We're going to do everything that's required. We're going to do all the, get it up to standards,
Right.
widen those walkways, put in the elevators, and we're going to get it up to code, but we're not changing any of the aesthetic. We're
Right.
not changing any of the feel." Like,
What a phenomenal decision.
One of my old bosses, I won't say his name out of respect for him, because he actually, full disclosure, those seats are so old and they're dried out a lot of the time. So when kids are sitting there, and even adults, and you push your feet on them, they break. Like they're very, very old. My old boss had an idea of, why don't we just get rid of all those seats and we'll just put bleachers in there, and then we don't have to ever worry about it. And all of us on staff looked at him and said, "If you do that, you're going to be walked out of the city." He wasn't from here. And so, we said it half jokingly, but,
Yeah. Oh, for
half
sure.
serious.
Yep.
And so I think
You would have led the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure of it.
and
I had a guy tell me, as long as Hoffmeyer's and Severnville is open, it'll be wooden seats in the
Now, is it the
Yeah.
brackets that they can't find anymore? Or?
it's tougher because there's right and left brackets, and there
it's all
is a
cast,
room.
too,
Yeah,
so-
there is a room with all the old, so when they did the renovation in 2008, I think it was, we did the refrigeration room, new floor, new boards. They did a lot, and they had to, like Scoop said, widen the aisles, so we were able to recover a lot of hardware and seats and
Okay,
stuff.
so you got some
So that 'cause
inventory.
you lost,
Exactly.
because you lost some seats.
Yes.
with that
Yeah.
widening.
Yes. So
Those
that,
stairs, though, man.
they're awful.
Oh, terrible.
Like they
you
are,
see more people fall up and
Why
they are
down.
not.
Oh, yeah, they're worse.
100%.
They're like, because they're like a half.
It's that
step.
half
There's-
step.
Yeah, and I've seen people take tumbles,
Oh,
but
I-
that's
yeah.
that's the charm that you get with a 100-year-old building, right? Like different codes but
Yeah, code red.
right.
Falling down the stairs with a couple
But-
of Cokes and some French fries.
But like when I was reading bits and pieces that you had talked about with other people, I can totally resonate with you when you were talking about the little Cullitons between periods, you playing and
I played in that.
right. I think we all did.
I
Like
was 8
now,
years old.
everybody does now.
I
Like
couldn't believe it. The
Oh, yeah.
feeling that I had. I was 8 years old, and the first and second period, we got 2 periods. It's
There-
unbelievable.
yeah, like and you described it well. Like you said, it's like Maple Leaf Gardens. So
Yeah.
tell us what
Yeah,
what
there,
your
there's something. There's
I
something.
would like to share 2 at some point.
Of course, yeah.
Just kidding.
I like the
There's,
arena too.
There's something very cool and I think unique about Stratford, like the arena and also the junior B team, the Friday night thing. And maybe it's not entirely unique to Stratford, but it's just so cool that we have this building and this team that is so loved that as a child, like you don't know any better.
Right.
Like, you 8 years old, you follow the Cultons, like you don't know that they're 16, that they're that they're high school kids.
Right.
Tim Taylor said it too, and not to disrupt your story, but he said when you grow up in Stratford as a kid, it's not NHL. You want to play for the Cullitons.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it was like religion, and
Yeah, and,
But
and
anyway,
then
sorry,
you,
go
and,
ahead,
yeah,
Ian.
and you step onto that ice with whether it's 1,000 people or 1,500 or 800.
Yeah.
like you're surrounded with this high ceiling,
Right.
And yeah, like I said, it may as well be Maple Leaf Gardens. Like you don't know any better.
Unbelievable. But like I remember my first game, my dad took me in the late 70s to Maple Leaf Gardens. And I just remember like it took me like a period or two to just get over like, oh
The
my
awe,
God. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what was going on in the game. You're just in awe. Like everything that you've seen on TV, now it's live,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so that was a great reference when I was reading that you had said that.
And so much of that
bang
character
on.
is gone from everywhere
Yes.
else,
Right.
including NHL.
Yeah, there's,
Sure.
Yeah, they're so
well,
Yeah.
it's
sterile now. You know,
Yes.
it's-
they really well. I will say this: they've done a really nice job in Detroit.
Yeah,
They've done
it's
a really nice, really decent job in Tampa Bay. But yeah, I mean,
Bell Center. It still
Bell
has,
Center,
yes.
and
Aura.
Les is going to think this is a jab. It's not. But man, Scotiabank Arena in Toronto is a tough.
Oh, it is. It
Well,
is.
they're
it's
But it was
going
so
to do
stagnant.
renovations on it.
The
soon,
thing
aren't
was,
they?
you with Scotiabank, you got to remember when that was being built, it was for basketball, only.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
The Leafs came on
He's
late
right.
after they bought them, so
They
that's
basically
why
panicked.
that's why there are some obstructed view seats. Not like a Utah, but
Yeah.
there are some obstructed view seats.
My daughters were in those. They were at a game about 3 weeks ago. My 2 daughters and
Utah?
No.
at
Scotiabank.
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 in the
Okay.
obstructed view.
And so one of them had an obstructed view. They couldn't see the one goal. And I didn't know those existed.
Yeah, they do. It's,
Yeah.
it's right up the sides at the
Yep.
ends.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
it was a basketball. Because for basketball, you can see the court because it's in the middle, right?
Exactly.
You can't see the whole rink.
I remember that. It was John Beetove
Yeah.
was in a pissing match with I don't
Steve
know.
Stavro.
Steve Stavros.
Stavro,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, Nob Hill Farms,
Yeah.
and they came together at the 11th hour.
Stavros swore he would never go into that building.
Yeah, yeah.
Until then he bought he eventually bought the Raptors
Yes.
to go into that building because
Yeah.
he wanted to be.
I didn't know that.
Down where
I
it
didn't
is.
know it was built for basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was customized for.
Because wasn't it a
For
post
Leafs.
office?
Yeah, it
Yes,
was.
the old post
Yeah,
office.
Okay.
like the Bay Street side of it, they kept that facade.
Right.
Right.
and
Yes.
parts
Yes.
of it. But I mean, you see the difference between Scotiabank and the Bell Center
Yep.
when you think
Yeah.
about this was built for basketball,
Right.
and this is maximized for hockey. There's 3,000 extra seats,
That's
and
right.
like the slope,
Yep.
and,
Right.
and the pitch, and just the vibes.
Yeah.
Were
Bell
you
Center
ever-
is. unbelievable.
I've never been.
And I'm not just being biased. It is. There is such a buzz in the air. You can hear it just from people and excitement. And I'm telling you, Razor, it's really something.
It's true. I've only been once, but it was a Saturday night Leafs-Habs game.
Yeah,
that would have been.
Is that accurate? What I was saying?
Yeah, 100%.
There's just.
I wasn't laughing at your story. It just triggered a memory. Steve Miller, former NHL linesman, was telling me a story. He was doing the lines the one night, and he says, "I'm at the hotel, going to the rink." He says, "We're going down the elevator, and there's a father and son. They had come from Newfoundland in for the game. They're both Habs fans, have their jerseys on." Millsy says, I look at him and I go, "Going to the game tonight, boys?" Yeah. We got, row 4, we got great seats tonight. Are you going to the game? Millsy goes, Yeah, I'm going to the game. And they said, "Where are your seats?" And he goes, "Better than row 4. He said the door opened and I walked away.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Allman, just quickly, I've talked to a lot of former
Squirrel.
players, and they say they still get the shivers, the goosebumps when they walk into that arena.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of those guys just say they walk in and, it's all there. It's just the mystique of that building, correct?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I didn't play in that building. I didn't play for the Keltons. I didn't win anything. I didn't go on to the NHL. But I feel that. I mean, I was in there today dropping off materials that I'd gotten from Roger Moorhead from the hockey club, research materials. I had to drop them off. And, just stepping in and, seeing the ice.
Right.
There's something there that if you, have those experiences and feel the way about the arena that I think we all do.
Right.
Then yeah, you get that every time you step in there.
And just I might have mentioned this before, but last spring we get pushed from the Rotary complex over to the main arena for the few final skates. And I just live like a hard 9-iron from the arena, so I was down there, walked in, it was open. The lights were still out, and I just went without my equipment and sat on the home bench. And I just was looking around and knowing what I know and what I understand about the arena. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with you working there all those years, the feeling that I'm talking about. I thought about all the people that passed through, not just on the Culletons, but through different teams. You're talking about the Leafs and the Cleveland Barons and, the innovators of that stadium and the vision that they had and that architecture that you see of that building that it's not normal. It's not mainstream of old arenas. And a lot of those, if they were, just are non-functional or not around anymore.
Yeah, long gone.
And that's the absolute romance of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of people I talked to mentioned, and Razor, maybe you played in some of these rinks, but guys mentioned Niagara Falls and Woodstock and these places that had similar buildings.
Yep.
But they're long gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't keep them up. The Garden City Arena there in Niagara Falls. It's similar. I remember when I was playing in St. Thomas, we used to play in an old barn in Sarnia, but they just didn't pump the money into keeping them and restoring them the way that Stratford has. Stratford's in the middle right now. I didn't know what was going to happen when Dan Matheson was no longer mayor. I knew as long as Matho was driving the bus that arena was never going to, be torn down. Yeah. After he went, I know Martin, but I don't know Martin as well as I do Dan. And I was curious. And then when Tim Wolf took over from Ed Martin, people have different ideas, different thoughts. And I remember before I retired, I was talking to Tim and I said, "What are your thoughts of the Allman?" And I said, "Do you think you'd ever sell it?" And because I know that there's been talk of interest next door with the theater and using that for parking lot, condos, development. And Tim Wolf looked me in the eye and he said, "Not on my watch."
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a homegrown boy.
Yeah.
That understands the absolute charm and benefit that arena has now.
And it's like a conscious decision to do that too,
for sure,
because it's an old building. It requires upkeep and money and taxpayer dollars, and
right.
It's you have to be committed keeping that
And it's
up.
not cheap. Like they started the roof this summer and this fall. Like that's over $1 million.
They're still working on it.
Right. And well, that's
That's a whole 5
I
years.
know.
it's a
I
real
know it's a whole
5-year
different story. Yeah.
because it's a heritage
Yeah.
building, and oh man, but yeah, like that's just the first of many things. Like they've done a lot of the heavy lifting already, and putting that steel roof on is going to stop a lot of the water leaking and rotting the top deck and stuff. But they've got a great refrigeration plant. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting already, and so they've still got to work out some kinks with the boiler system and stuff. But
I find now every Friday night when I walk up to the press box to do the game, and I look at the stairs going up, and they're so worn, you can just see where all this feet on the same spot
right.
every time.
Bob
right?
Smith.
It's
and-
just so, and then you get into the press box, and it's like from the 70s.
yeah,
Yep.
But I wouldn't want to watch a game from anywhere else.
right.
We have the luxury of some live viewing comments, so I just wanted to share a couple. Chris Jessel, our great buddy, friend of the show, who's been on a few times, even his boy Rhett. The most incredible feeling is when you are alone and you can sit and look around in silence in that arena. Goosebumps, ghosts, and great memories. Joe Hishin, I believe Billy Allman's spirit is still roaming that place. Lots of stories about that. Ha ha. And that's a guy who can attest to that, of working there many years as well.
He's my boss that hired me for
Yeah.
there, and it's gone through 3 different names: the Classic City Arena, the Stratford Arena, and then finally the William Allman Memorial.
And I just think this day and time with Bill Allman's resume, it's appropriately named.
yeah,
Yep.
and there's a guy that gave 40 plus years to the city, and that's the only job that he ever had. Like he said to me, he said, I didn't finish high school.
He hired you?
Well, he didn't technically hire me. Clark Mitchell in HR
Oh my God.
actually hired me.
Yeah.
But Bill Allman was the manager that was there when I first started. But
Because every Friday night when I start my show, it's always the Hockey Cathedral on Morenz Drive. Because
Right.
that's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah, I had a hard time deciding on a title
Yep.
for this because of what you talked about, 3 different names, and I talked about how it's got those 3 names, and when I was growing up, we just called it the main arena.
Yep.
right.
Yes. So not to be
Same,
confused with the
same.
Dufferin and the Rotary. It was, and so I settled on 100 years of the Stratford Arena just because I felt like it captured everything, and there
think it's a
wouldn't
great
be
choice.
any
Yep.
confusion. That's not
Right.
a slight at all to Bill Allman
No,
or,
no.
or the naming or anything, but it was something I struggled with.
Oh, I can only imagine. And, like it's, getting back to some of the stories that had gone on there, like, there's been a Blue Rodeo concert. They used to have Festival City Days. And
Oh, did they?
Tombola.
Festival City Days.
Festival
Yeah.
I never knew they had Festival City.
Right?
Wrestling.
Tell us
Yeah,
quickly
wrestling.
about, before we go to break, Princess Margaret. Tell us that quick story. I was getting a
Yeah.
chuckle out of that.
1958.
Yeah, 1958, Princess Margaret, who I don't really know anything about. My wife is a little bit more of a royal watcher, and she
Okay.
described her as the fun one.
Okay.
She was Queen
There you
Elizabeth's sister who, had multiple marriages, and so
Okay.
she was doing a tour of Canada as they did, and so her train was rolling into Stratford, and she was going to see a show at the theater, of course. And as part of the celebration, the city had Duke Ellington, the legendary jazz musician.
Right.
He was putting on a concert at the arena. For it was like a side thing to go along with it. All the high rollers were coming to the arena, rolling up in limousines for the concert.
Wow.
And Princess Margaret was supposed to come, and Duke Ellington had written a special song for her, and he was all excited, and the city was all excited. And she went to the theater and said, "I'm too tired to go see the Duke." And was like, "Get me back on my train, and like get me to Niagara Falls.
Bye-bye.
Or wherever's next."
See ya.
Rude.
Poor
yeah,
Duke.
There's and like that was, like that made it to the pages of the Toronto Star. There's like a full page
That's
spread.
hilarious.
The Duke had Princess Blues.
Yeah.
Big
That's
news
awesome.
That's a
that
shame.
Duke Ellington got stood up.
Probably was a really nice song too.
Oh, jeez. Too bad.
Yeah, so that's
Right.
a good example of something beyond hockey that I'm just trying to fill it out with a little bit.
Yep. The actual bricks and mortar and the
Yeah.
history of the actual building more
Yeah.
so than just the hockey experiences and stuff, because it does have great stories.
Of course, yeah.
That you've wrote about, and after the break we'll get into all sorts of opportunities for listeners how to purchase it and
Yes, please.
support, and we'll get into that. But
Yeah.
at this point, I guess we'll go through some of our very
sponsors.
generous sponsors.
Absolutely.
We'll start with SBS Metals. Metal fabrication with professional craftsmanship. Stratford's preferred custom, commercial, and residential metal fabricators. They invite you to their social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. It is a great portfolio of their work and the things they do. Your first choice for metal fabrication.
Domino's Pizza, the official pizza of the Armchair Chirpers. Get a free large 3-item pizza if you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Take a screenshot and come to either the Urban Barber or probably Reboot Repair for your coupon. 2 locations, 406 Ontario, 536 Huron Street.
And we always have a pleasure of yelling out our official breakfast, lunch, and dinner diner of the Armchair Chirpers, Joe's Diner at 155 Erie Street. I have the luxury of them being our neighbors. My landlord, number 4, 2 eggs over easy, white toast, bacon.
I want the
Please.
crispy chicken
Love
back.
it.
You can take that up with them. Locally owned by the Myers family, 2 locations, St. Mary's, and I know I mentioned 155 Erie Street. I have to start writing down the St. Mary's location because it is in St. Mary's. If you know what the country club is, it's right up the hill.
Exactly.
Great location, great, great workers they have in there, great people. So thank you so much for your support, guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll take our first break, and we'll come back with more stories of the Allman Arena.
So the conversations always keep going when when we're taking a break.
It's not really a break at all.
No. Yeah, we're still quizzing.
Air
We're
break.
like kids in in front of a reader, and we're just so thankful that you took the time, Ian, and it's such a privilege to have you on the podcast tonight. So thank you so much for your time.
Happy to be here.
I know we talked a little bit about the goings on and all that, but I think one thing that you really want to do is you want to let our listeners know, and the people who are watching tonight, can you give us just an overall kind of blueprint of what the book is about and how you've arranged it, if you will?
Yeah, of course. Going into this, I didn't know what that was going to look like. I started researching it, and I thought, okay, well, it's a building. That's maybe not the most exciting. But then, I've already mentioned how I talked to Eddie Olchuk, and that was kind of the moment where I realized, it's a history of the building, but then it has to be the stories of the people and the events that happened within it. So it's like physically the book is broken up into 3 sections. So the first part is sort of like a chronological history of the arena, how it got built. I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but there's stuff in there about we're sitting here celebrating 100 years. It almost didn't last 5. It filed for bankruptcy in 1929.
I did not know that.
And,
I was looking through.
I'm just leafing through it, and I just come to this article. New Stratford Arena to
Yes.
accommodate 15,500.
15,000.
And will cost 55,000.
Yeah,
That'd be an OHL size rink.
yeah.
Bigger than.
I stumbled upon that. It's just a simple typo in the Sault Ste. Marie Star where they added a 0. So it says Stratford Drink's going to have 15,000
Crazy.
seats
Buy stocks now.
by stock. But
There you go.
yeah, so like I said, that's the first section is the history, from not even from 1924, starting with the Waterloo Street rink in 1886 right up until today. And then the second section is titled People. So it's, like little mini stories about different people who have, have an association with the arena. So, the Flanagans and Tim Taylor and Eddie Olchuk and Gary Ray and
It's a razor book.
it's a razor book.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Ray makes an appearance
A couple
twice
times.
in the
I was
book.
totally shocked, Scoop.
You,
that,
you should
I
still
saw
buy
that.
it, but
Right. Even though, don't let that deter you.
I love it. That's awesome. You should still buy it.
I
but,
guess
you know,
we'll have
razors
to
in
set
there.
up an autograph session, eh?
Should we
Attaboy.
get a warning on the cover?
Right. Warning.
This contains.
not safe for work.
Right. That's brilliant.
And then the third section is is about the moments and things that have happened there that and some of them are things we know about, the Wayne Gretzky goal and Hockey Day in Canada and the NHLPA thing in '94, and then some cool stuff that I didn't know so much about. We talked about Princess Margaret already, but I didn't know about Stratford's professional hockey team in the late 20s. It was a very different era of professional hockey. It obviously wasn't the NHL, but there was a short-lived Canadian Professional Hockey League, and Stratford had a team for 2 years, and they were a powerhouse. They lost in the championship the first year, won it the second, and then just quickly fizzled out.
Right.
So like I said, it's about the people and the things that have happened there and the memories, and it was fun to research, and it was cool when people reached out. I did a radio hit a year and a half ago, just kind of starting to promote it, but basically saying, like, if you have photos or stories, whatever, let me know. And a woman reached out to me and said that she met her husband during a public skating thing there in I think 1958.
Crazy.
Wow.
And it's like
Is that Barb Nechtel?
Barb Nechtel, yeah.
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 So
Good friend of my mom's.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, she said she met her husband. Her husband asked her to go for a skate one night, and then
And they're in the book.
they're in the book.
That's awesome.
They were kind enough to go to the arena and get a great photo together, and like that's the kind of stuff that again lit me up. And,
Now, does she know that she's in the book?
oh yeah,
Okay,
Yes,
all
for
right.
sure.
I didn't know because
She's-
my mom has never said anything. Like, so
Okay. No,
obviously she
she,
hasn't
uh,
said anything to my mom.
And you didn't know you were in
I,
the book.
I
so
had
it
no
could
idea
get
I
really,
was,
yeah.
right? So
This is-
the-
this
like,
is the
this
world-
like
world
Christmas,
premiere.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The Eric Lindros commercial.
Yep.
Oh,
Iconic.
Just
yeah.
just reading this.
Were you-
if I give you
were
this
you working
clean
on this?
sheet,
no.
what will you write?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know about the other commercial. Do you guys know about the other Allman
No.
commercial? There was an Esso commercial in like 1990. They did a series of them, and so it's just the exterior,
Okay.
but it starts kind of on like a tight crop of the arena, and then it zooms out showing the arena, and there's just a voiceover, and it's a similarly like kind of sappy Canada hockey thing. This is
right,
where we
right.
gather,
So,
but it's super cool.
I
because
remember that
This is
campaign.
the
This is
ladies
where we
that-
got
it
on
happens
YouTube.
every Friday night.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Now
happens
that
every
you
Friday
mention it.
night. The whole town crowds into the arena like one big happy family. Every one of us cheering on the kids trying to keep warm.
Yeah.
And I have
It's
people
good.
comment to that.
It's on YouTube. You
Yeah.
can find it. It's
I have
That
people-
is pretty cool. I forgot about that one.
I
Yeah.
did too. That was a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
campaign they had.
On the road, I have people comment. They say, that's a cold arena. I'm sitting there going, no.
Not compared to some of these other ones.
And those are the people in Caledon. Go figure.
I was just in Strathroy the other night. That was cool.
The thing I like about it too, and I know it's going to look a little bit different. I know, and you were saying that that's how it's going to read, but it's actually going to be hardcover, which
Yeah.
is really great.
Yeah,
And
we're holding a proof
Yeah.
here.
And the thing that I really appreciate about it is that it's a really easy read.
Oh, yeah.
It's not novel structure. It's just very easy read. And
Yeah, narratively, it's. I mean, every little story is like 500 to 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
That's perfect.
yeah, no, I'm happy with how it turned out. I think there's a lot of great photos, and it
I think
maybe
that's-
sounds kind of corny, but like I wanted to put something like cool and beautiful into the
No.
world.
That
It's-
is
it's
And
honest to
awesome.
God. Like
That's
just
what
quickly,
it's really what I wanted.
quickly leafing through that before we went there. Like, I love it. Like, I'm biased, of course. Like being working there and getting mentioned, but I thought you did it right.
Yeah.
Your structure, because you've got the pictures like of old Chuck and all the different people and like even newspaper clippings and like you said, it's a short story, so it's not like page after page after page.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, and I mean, I tried to, get as many different people, and again, not just hockey players, and
Yep.
and that was tough too, because there came a point where I had to stop.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can
like
only
I-
write so much.
and like I
Yeah.
had a hard deadline, and Razor, I spoke to you, and like I would have liked to have also spoken to Tuffy or Savvy or
Right.
or whoever.
Yeah.
And sometimes I called people and they didn't get back to me. Sometimes I had people on a list and I didn't call them, or like Les, you and I tried to
We
connect in the
crossed paths. It
summer,
was
and
just-
it just didn't work out. And
Just
then
crazy.
and then I just said, okay, like I have to
Nope, that's-
stop and write now, or
Right.
else it's never going to end, and it's going to be 800 pages, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody's got a story.
I still get a kick out of till this day. You remember working there, I'm sure. Especially during the Christmas tournament, where you get parents walking in, primarily dads, and as soon as they walk in, and you can tell the ones that have never been there before, because they're just in awe, like looking around, and like especially at the barn ceiling and the beams and the trophy cases and displays, and like, holy moly, like Tim Taylor played here, and like
Yeah,
it's,
and there's like a cool like anticipation thing that comes with that, because you walk into the lobby and you're like, okay, it's a lobby,
right.
and then you go through that first set of doors, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, maybe we're under the seating, and then
Right.
you take that step to the
Yeah.
ice and you go, holy shit, like, this is
Yeah,
Do you know? Do you know?
this is not the Canlin in Oakville.
Do you know what I? Do you know what I absolutely have noticed, and lifelong fan and viewer of the Culletons and the Warriors, and they're fantastic. I get that feeling with the Stratford Fighting Irish. We were there Saturday night for one of their home games, and it's just
The energy.
it's just what it was.
is,
And Razor called me Sunday morning, just hey, how you doing? Thanks for a great night, type of thing. And you just it's awesome when that place is buzzing.
Yeah,
It was fantastic. The Irish had a great game, and there were 600-700 people there, and I mean, not even completely full, there was still just that buzz that everybody knows if you've experienced it. It was there Saturday night. So
my
it's the
dad is
building.
a very proud Irish season ticket holder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I've
Did
been
he buy the lifetime membership season ticket hold?
I'm not sure if he has that.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I've been to a handful of games with him. I went to some playoff games with him last year.
Wasn't that something?
And I brought my son to a couple, and he loves Irish games. He's been to 2 or 3. But,
Wow.
But like
Yeah.
he
And how old's he?
he's 8.
Yeah.
And he's hockey crazy.
Yeah.
And he loves it. And he keeps asking to go to a Leafs game, and I get it. It's like he has just as much fun at the free Irish game
Yeah.
as he would if I spent $1,000 to go to a
Right.
Leafs game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
They
it's
do.
fun.
They do a
There's-
great job. Just
Yeah.
the in-game experience.
Yes.
They had
Very
Razor
very
on the
family
microphone
friendly.
yelling. This past Saturday it was.
So
fantastic.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but every home game that the Irish score 6 goals, Domino's gives family, every person in the stands a free pizza.
Okay.
So Domino's is one of our sponsors, and when we became friends with Patrick Sealing, shout out to Patrick, and he gave us free coupons for the people that sign on for our hockey pool and our YouTube subscription channel. And we would get a large 3-item. We would hand out a large 3-item pizza. Silly me. I just assumed that it was the same thing for the Irish games. So the girl that Paula that goes around and does all the game promos, she's like Razor. She says it's 5-0 right now. So she says get the crowd going because tell them we want 6. So I'm on the microphone saying, okay, if the Irish score one more goal, folks, you get a large 3-item pizza. And I said we want 6. So you've got 600 people all chanting this, right? And
Basically, almost got nailed for false advertising. is what it was.
so the Domino's, just lo and behold, the
Freaking
Domino's
out.
general manager comes around, and she's just running right up to me, and she's like, "It's not a large pizza, it's a small." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." So they had to go back on and reiterate, "Hey, it's just a small, not a large."
Razor didn't know any better, folks.
Oh my God,
Well,
her face was red.
We were about 6 beers deep
well,
by then.
maybe more.
Well, so
maybe
maybe
more.
Razor has to split the difference and
Right.
upgrade everyone.
Well, it was funny because Greg Barkley's with us, and he goes, "If they get 7, do they upgrade us to a medium?" But it's
But
fun.
it proves the generosity of Patrick and his team there.
Absolutely.
At, the 2 Domino's Pizza locations here in Stratford, and their generosity just absolutely beams at a lot of these events. So
You got to come hang out in our Armchair
Yeah, for
Chirper
sure.
zone.
it was
Yeah.
bopping on the
It
weekend.
was,
even
yeah.
even with your little guy, even with your dad.
Yeah.
Like there was kids. Shankers brought his kid.
Yep.
There's all sorts of just it's busy and it's fun and
December
stuff
7th.
like that.
I'll see you there.
Yes.
All right,
And,
yeah, we'll be there.
And December 27th.
Yeah.
okay. I'll
So
be
you-
in Cuba, but
And
27.
the December 13th game that you're there, that'll be a rocking arena.
Yes.
So I
So
guess
why don't
that's
we go
where
through-
wanted to
Yeah.
just quickly lead
Yeah, we're-
into. So with all this great information about your book, I think the most important thing is there's a lot of listeners that want to know how they would go about. Pre-broadcast tonight, Razor put a little teaser on about your book and about you visiting us tonight and so on. Right away, where do I get this book?
Yeah.
So I please just kind of inform the listeners and viewers how they would go about that.
Yeah, so basically you have to get it directly from me. The book is completely self-published, so I'm awaiting a shipment of boxes of hundreds of books. So whenever I get the books, I'm going to come back to town and set up shop. December 6th, it's a Friday, and the Warriors are actually not playing at home that night. They're at the showcase thing. So there's no Warriors game.
It's a 10:30 or 10 a.m. game.
10 a.m. game. So December 6th, 7 p.m. at the Bunker, which is just around the corner here.
On Wellington.
That is at
Wellington.
104 Wellington Street. That's actually our old salon, believe it or not.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jeff.
So no problem. 104 Wellington on the corner of St. Patrick and Wellington.
Yep, Friday, December 6th. No ticket required, no cover. Show up, buy a book, have a beer, hang out. So that's the first big one, and then
Well, here before you continue,
Yeah.
I just I thought it was such a great idea of Patrick handing out free pizzas to the Irish, every fan there. I've confirmed with him, and everyone that buys a book with the launch of Ian's book launch is getting a free pizza as well. Free large 3-item pizza. So
Right.
yeah,
While
Patrick's
supplies last.
on board with
Yeah,
all of this
there you
as
have it,
well.
folks.
So
thank you,
Sorry.
thank you to you
Yeah.
guys and Patrick.
yeah,
So that's the first big opportunity, and then the next night I will be at the Irish game. I'll set up shop, I assume, in the lobby, selling books there, and then the following Friday night, December 13th, that's the big Stratford St. Mary's game.
it's going to be huge.
That'll be
Yeah,
huge.
it's the Go Spotlight game of the week too, so everybody.
It'll be
there.
packed
You'll be
that
there?
night. Guaranteed, it'll be packed.
So
A lot of alumni in town for that game.
It'll be in
Okay.
May.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot that is alumni
It's
night.
alumni
yeah,
night.
Yeah.
So this may be a good time to mention this first run. There's only 300 copies.
So, folks,
so those are your
limited
those
edition.
are your first chances. And
Yes.
then, like I said, if there's copies left, I'll come back for. Basically the idea is to set up shop in the arena and sell
Yeah.
them during games. If you're listening and none of those opportunities work for you, you can send me an email, and we can work something out directly. StratfordArenaBook@gmail.com.
Perfect. I did
Okay.
have it right.
And we'll throw that up on
Mhm.
our
Socials.
Yeah.
socials.
I'm happy to. If you
Um,
can't make it out, I'm happy to make a delivery. or
Chester,
something.
friend of the show, he's right involved with this chat here. He was wondering if there's any good wrestling stories, including a bear in the book.
There,
Honest question.
don't know if that's some kind of inside joke, but
No,
No.
it's. I think it happened.
okay.
I think it happened.
I heard lots of anecdotal stories about how wrestling took place there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found lots of ads in the Beacon. Wrestling Friday night. I couldn't again like it.
Confirm or deny.
Well, not that. I just couldn't find any actual stories
Yeah,
about it. It was ads, and then again, like the archives, like it's not really searchable.
Right.
So
Right.
so if there was something with a bear, like I
Yeah.
just couldn't find it.
Chester, you ask. We ask too. So there's your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm afraid not.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah. And so, you've got all these different opportunities, folks, to get your hands on 300 limited books. How good would that be for a stocking stuffer coming up with the holidays just around the corner?
And for people wondering, and I know the question will be asked what the price is, we have confirmed with
Yes.
Ian that it's $30. Is that plus tax?
Nope. That's
$30.
Did you get that
all
in
in.
under the
taxes
cash.
included.
the GST holdback from the government?
So really reasonable.
that's just me trying to make my money back.
Yes, and no Canadian Tire money either.
Yeah, they don't take
No.
Canadian
Yeah.
Tire money up
Yeah.
par.
No Domino's gift cards. No large pizzas.
But we're really excited
Cash
to be
credit,
able to
e-transfer.
Right.
to be able to spread this information too. It's been fantastic. We probably should take advantage of the fact of a little bit of your resume with NHL and so on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you want to keep going, or do you want to take 5, or what do you want to do?
Well,
Let's take a quick 5.
quick 5.
Take a quick 5. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that. And then people have been texting me asking about what's going on with Matthews, what's going on with Nylander.
We'll
And
get
I
into
said,
all
I
of it.
said, you know what? I actually have a guy coming on tonight that may know some information. So
The center of the hockey
stay
universe.
tuned.
So just to continue on with our sponsorships, the shameless plug of the Urban Barber, 155 Erie Street, established in 2019, full service barber shop, appointment based, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Brighter Vision Counseling, Psychology, and Wellness, providing compassionate and effective counseling services to individuals and families in need. They provide a safe and supportive environment where everyone can heal and grow. Brighter Vision.
Yeah, just like to add an additional thank you to those wonderful people at that organization and business. They do such a
Yes.
great job.
Yeah.
Janet Lang, broker in real estate in Stratford and surrounding area, 20 years in the business. She has coined the phrase putting the real in real estate, taking the client's best interest first. official realtor of the Armchair Chirpers.
Bentley's Bar and Inn. I don't know if you've ever been there before, Scoop. Official bar and restaurant
Once or twice.
of the Armchair Chirpers. 20 draft beers on tap, daily food specials, fabulous place to spend the night in their lofts or executive suite. Locally owned and operated by the Bentley family.
Great people.
All right, we'll be back after this short break.
And, talking to these guys on the break, apparently they are the 25-26 or the 24-25 Stanley Cup champion Toronto Maple Leafs. They want to talk about them. Won a couple games in a row. I think they're
Right.
first in the Atlantic. And you said you were down in Toronto and covered all the parking meter for the parade route.
Oh,
Is that what you were
absolutely.
doing? Yeah.
So the hockey club,
yes.
the Utah Hockey Club, had to walk the last mile
I saw that.
to the arena.
So my daughter's living right downtown. She's in first year law school at TMU, and I've gone down there twice to see her. And I looked at her and I said, "I can't do this anymore. Like there isn't such a thing
horrible.
as rush hour
No.
anymore.
It's just
every
busy.
24 hours. Like if you were to drive down to Toronto at 1:00 in the morning, it's still busy. Like it is. I don't know how you do it.
We
Scoop. Like,
drove.
Well, the secret is you don't drive.
yeah.
that's
right,
what you
right, like
have to do.
transportation.
Stay in your neighborhood. It's walkable city. You walk to your nearest grocery store.
Right.
Have your dentist in the neighborhood, whatever. And other than like going to hockey, my car doesn't move for days at a time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I work from home. And,
Right. Yeah, which is fair, but I don't know like how someone could do that hustle and bustle day after day. Like great transit system, kudos to them, but
Well, I did
oh
it for
my
5
God.
years, 15 years ago, and it was day to day in the GTA, and it was okay because there
Right.
was pockets through the day.
Right.
But now it's like you say, 1:00 in the morning. That's not an exaggeration.
No.
We were driving home at 11:30 from the airport one night, Janet and I, and she's like, "Where are we? It's gridlock."
Yeah.
I said, "This is what it is now.
Yeah.
This is GTA. This is
The
This is
last time
Toronto.
I took Courtney back home, which is probably like a month and a half ago, we were getting stop and go in Guelph.
Yeah.
Like it is insanity.
yeah.
Like-
And then like once you hit Kitchener again, it picks up again. And
It's James Snow Parkway. It's Winston Churchill Boulevard.
Yep.
It's Mississauga Road. It's like there's little pockets through where you know you're going to hit
And like the
traffic.
bike pass when you're trying to turn right, like good God, you've got these bikes. And
We
nothing
almost hit
against-
somebody, and
Right.
what did the guy do? Tried to rip off Janet's.
Side view.
Yeah,
The mirror?
yeah.
Oh yeah, they're
I
nuts.
said, that was awkward. Like he missed it, but holy mackerel.
Oh, but
Um,
so yeah,
yeah.
Tell us about your deputy managing editor. You look after guys writing for the Leafs. Like, take us through a regular day. Like, now you were telling us off air, but for the people that don't know, what would be like a regular day like in your life?
it's
at work.
at work. Oh, okay. So once I have pants on,
Bravo.
Right.
it's not as exciting as you're making it out to be. Like it's management and I'm an editor, so lots of meetings, lots of planning. But yeah, I manage two of our guys who write about the Leafs, and then as well as our like analytics writers, like Dom Lushizin. I can't say his last name, but after 7 years. So yeah, lots of planning and editing and brainstorming and
Right.
news and long-term planning. But yeah, the day-to-day is what's happening at the Leaf skate today. Matthew Still isn't skating. Is that a story? They called up Nylander. Is that a story? They what the power play is struggling. What are we gonna do with all that?
It can probably, and I'm not just saying this because it's Toronto or it'd be any NHL team, it could probably get a little stagnant, like just with the same storyline day to day. Like you say,
Yes.
Matthews isn't back, Marner's still lighting it up. It's the same stuff. So you probably have to figure out how you're going to dig a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And in the early days of the Athletic, not to go too inside baseball, but in the early days of the Athletic, our whole thing was to be different. We would tell people, like, don't go in the scrum where everybody else is. Go talk to somebody else. And then as we grew and scaled, we had to be as comprehensive as everybody else was. So So now it's still like trying to be different, trying to spin things forward, but while covering the same thing that everybody else is
Right.
at the same time.
Right.
So that's the challenge is, trying to make sure we cover everything, but still be different than the competitors.
So speaking of like trying to stand out from the rest, obviously, it's no secret how hockey is the hardest league to get any information out of with regards to injury.
Yeah.
Like pro football, like I don't know if you're a fantasy guy, but
Yep. Yep.
if Aaron Rodgers has, they don't say upper body injury, they say he's got a bruise on his right index finger, just because
daily practice reports, who practiced, what capacity, what the injury is.
exactly, and so because of gambling, so
Yes.
gambling has dictated how much viewership. Like the NFL are geniuses because on a Thursday night where you got the Colts and the Jaguars playing, we'll all watch it.
Yeah.
They'll have more people watching that than they will a playoff NHL game.
Mm-hmm.
It's all driven by gambling. And so why does hockey not tell us more about Austin Matthews, why he went to Germany, why you've got to pry things out? Why does all of that happen?
I think it's coming eventually, as we all know how much the NHL has gotten in bed with sports books. But until then, it's we just did a big player poll at the Athletic, came out last week, and one of the questions was, do you want more transparency around injuries? And the players mostly said no. And I don't know how much of this is anecdotal, but I feel like forever the answer has been they don't want the other team to know where they might be hurt, how they might be hurt. Maybe you get an extra shot. Maybe
Because they have
someone
sticks
takes
in
a
their
run
hand.
maybe someone takes a run at you.
Do you know who created the term upper body injury?
No,
Pat Quinn.
Pat Quinn,
Really?
2002.
I did not know
Upper
that.
body, lower body. Pat Quinn.
Wow.
2002 against Ottawa.
I can see that.
And it's interesting you bring that up because it's such a facade. I mean, you've got Matthews, who's an absolute important part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's day to day, and he's been out in 2 days. He'll be out a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I know fans are probably a little bit wondering why, but at the end of the day, they're doing all right without him. So you wonder,
Unreal.
you wonder what's going to happen when he comes back. Does it ruin the chemistry? It's hard to say.
If he plays Wednesday against Florida, and they lose, then either
You guys are gonna be busy.
Either he ruined the chemistry, or he's not going to play, and they're going to lose, and they can't beat a contender.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
Those are the narratives.
They've been
that,
dissecting
right.
it, like, and just I know that everybody listens, but I'm listening to how their power play was silent, and now it's firing in all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
You got Marner absolutely lighting it up. Nylander
Shooting
looked great
first.
last night. All that stuff, and all of a sudden they're like, "Well, do we put our 70-goal scorer on the first line power play?" The answer is yes. Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Every time.
Right.
Like, there's no conversation to be had, but you have such fragile people listening going, but do we? Well, yes, you do. He's $14 million.
Right.
Basically, like it's nice that they win without him. Like it's good.
100%.
It's good.
I
They're-
love it.
I mean, what if they weren't right now? There'd be
100%.
chaos. But like you put that guy back right where he was,
Yep.
and your team is infinitely better. Now, look at the lineup they ran out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
Yep.
nice
Yep.
that they win, but like look at that bottom six. Look at the top six.
Right.
Without
Domi.
Matthews, Domi, Nyes, Yarncrook, Kampf. I'm forgetting
Yeah.
three guys.
Yeah, there's-
Reeves suspended.
Yeah,
Reeves,
Reeves,
yeah.
Reeves was missed.
Like
Like,
they're-
it was
It-
unbelievable.
it's like it's Marner, Tavares, and Nylander, and a bunch of AHL
Well-
quad A guys.
Yes.
so one of the nice stories about Sunday night's game was the Nylander brothers
Yeah, that was
getting a
fun.
game, right? Alex Nylander signs for the 775, which is great. And then he plays. His dad was there and his sister were there, and they were all there watching because I read James's Myrtle's article there Saturday, and it's great. And Jonas Siegel's article this morning was fabulous.
Yeah,
the weekend review.
Jonas has another one tomorrow. He spoke to Michael on Sunday night. I
Michael's
don't know
a
if
bit of
anybody else got
a
him.
bit of a
but,
grump. Like, I wouldn't want to sit beside him at a house party.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
well, that like I
what a
said, that's why
grumpy bastard.
it's like a good get. It's a nice story tomorrow.
Jonas Siegel, I love reading his articles because he's quick to the point, but then drags you on for the rest of the article too. It's just great. It's fabulous. His Monday morning musings or whatever.
Monday morning Leaf Report.
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It's great. If you want to check something out, Razor, you got to check out
Razor,
Jonas Siegel.
Have you been at a house party in a kitchen standing beside someone and it's awkward?
Not in a long time.
That's what I think Michael Nylander is like.
Yeah, you see everybody standing
Just
last
finishing
night,
my
Jerry, and he's
story.
just sitting there going,
Him and Daryl Sittler.
Oh,
Or not Daryl Sittler, Daryl Sutter. Sorry.
Sutter.
The
Yeah,
old
Daryl
coach for the
Sutter would
Flames.
be a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, getting the crops off. the
Yes,
fields.
yes.
Holy juice. Anyways,
I
pardon me.
appreciate Les. He's selling books and subscriptions to the Athletic here tonight.
I try.
Right?
I've been on the Athletic since day one.
Folks, it's the Athletic. If you haven't read it, it's like the Sports Illustrated for hockey.
Yeah.
Like, it is unbelievable. I used to get the hockey news back in the day, but you guys just kill it.
Yeah,
Like, there's no better.
For me, it's the Athletics and the Players Tribune. The Players Tribune, I find, it's a little more because it's the players, right? But the Athletic, I just find it's more in depth sometimes than some of the beat reporters are.
The Players Tribune, I feel like I don't see it much anymore.
No,
but
it's not as popular as it used to be.
I don't know. My biased opinion is that's like very sanitized version of
what's happening. Because they don't want to out anybody or
right.
You know.
It's what they want. And I used to ghostwrite for an NFL player.
Oh really?
And back when I was at Yahoo, he did like a weekly thing, and I don't know if I can or should say who it was.
It's okay.
I can.
Yeah,
We don't
go
care.
ahead. It was a long time
It was
ago.
Orlando Franklin, who was a lineman for the Denver Broncos. He's from Scarborough.
Okay.
And I wasn't going anywhere bad with that. It was just like you talk to him and then write what he said, but it was like the agent had to approve it and he had to approve it, and
So it would appear like it was Orlando's words.
yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
But it was severely
I
edited.
wrote. I wrote it, but it was. I'd talk to Orlando for half an hour and then I'd go write, and like we did some cool stuff, but that's like the process. And that anyway.
And so what would have been the reasoning behind that? Like, because he didn't feel that he could put his words to print as well as somebody else, or he, like, why would he hire a ghostwriter? Like, is that a common thing in sports?
That was just it was like something the sales team had put together. I think what happened was so I worked for Yahoo Sports Canada, and like the U.S. side had done a deal with Shady McCoy. Do you remember the running back? LaShawn McCoy?
LaShawn, yeah.
So they had done a deal with him to write like a weekly fantasy thing.
All right.
And they had the same agent. So the agent then came to Yahoo Canada and said, "How about Orlando writes something? Doesn't have to be fantasy."
Right.
And so so like the sales team and the agents put that together. And
Gotcha.
so like Orlando doesn't want to write anything, but he'll talk to someone for half an hour.
Sure.
And
And then you write
and
it
ours
down.
wasn't fantasy related.
Right. Well, him being a lineman, there's really not the same value.
Well, and also like the LaShawn McCoy ones were really bad. Like it
Really?
was like the worst fantasy advice you could think of. He'd be like, "Oh, like draft this guy. I worked out with him in the summer. He's a beast." He's like on the practice squad for the Jaguars.
That is awesome.
Nice.
And you know, like it's you've just had so many great opportunities. Like going down to Dunedin, I've been able to go down there. I don't know if you remember back in the 80s, I played with a guy named Kevin Lee. And so just quick Cole's notes about him. He ended up leaving Stratford, went to chiropractic school, and long story short, became the head chiropractor for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And so then when I started going down, as the kids got older and I had more free time, then I was able to go down to Florida. And he would keep in touch with like Rob Blake and all these guys coming through. And he said, you know, like it was just So it's a small fraternity sports, whether it's football, hockey, whatever. And he just said it was so cool, whether it was playoffs or whatever. When guys would come into Tampa, they would, text him, and he would meet up with the guys that had played in Stratford, and it's just such a great energy. And so,
and spring training is it's such a fun experience, and like especially work wise, it's like the best work experience I've ever had
for sure.
But like just going and going to games, I'm sure is fun too. But like my work day during 2 weeks of spring training was the first year especially. I stayed right in Dunedin, so I'd wake up about 7, have breakfast, walk from the hotel to the stadium.
What a great town!
Great town. Like again, it 20 degrees and sunny at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'd walk to the ballpark. Clubhouse opened at 8. Go in, talk to players, start doing what I need to do for the day. And then they'd play a game at 1. So I'd finish up in the clubhouse, go sit in the media room from, I don't know, let's say 9 till 1, write something, go up to the press box, watch a game, maybe write something off the game, finish writing, and be done my day at 5 o'clock. And then
unreal.
Go to a driving range where they had $10 for a bucket of balls and a jumbo beer, and then go have dinner and then just do that every day and like crank out lots of work but like it's just
be productive, but be balanced,
all contained.
And that was like in 15 when the team was just getting good again with Anthopoulos.
Yeah, I was there spring 2014 and spring 2015.
Nice.
It's like just I think 14 was when they just signed Russell Martin.
Yes.
So I did a big feature about the knuckleball and like catching, and they had R.A. Dickey about catching the knuckleball, because the story that summer was, can Russell Martin catch a knuckleball, or do they have to start Josh Tolley every 5 days?
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, you do remember that?
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't until the July 1st series in 15 against Kansas City. The Jays were 50-50, and then they went on their run to make the playoffs. That was the first crack at the team that we were able to see, which was incredible.
Yeah, that was a fun group, and like I talked earlier about the idea of like not being in a scrum and going somewhere else. So when I was doing that knuckleball story, do you guys remember Sal Fasano?
Yeah.
Big mustachioed catcher, like journeyman ball player. He was like a roving instructor for the Jays that summer, and I went to talk to him. I was like, he's a catcher, maybe he knows something about catching a knuckleball. And I asked him, and he said, well, yeah, and in fact I throw a knuckleball, and it's like I've been throwing it to Russell Martin to try to like get him acclimated.
Yeah.
And like I thought that was amazing. Like Sal Fasano, this big burly journeyman catcher guy out there throwing butterflies,
because it's a bigger glove that they wear when the
big oven
knuckleballers.
mitt,
yeah, that was part of it.
Crazy.
But
what a nice facility. Now back in 15,
it was
they
before
had
the
renovated.
Yeah.
I was down there a couple of years ago, and oh my God, wow. The one thing I will give them, credit for is they realized that if they wanted to bring in high-priced talent, you got to have great facilities, and
they put $2 million into that facility down there.
Unreal,
and it shows. It looks great.
It really does. Like they put a gun to Dunedin's head and said, you know what, we're getting offers to move to this town. And
did you happen to go to the Phillies?
I did.
Complex in Clearwater.
Unreal.
Like,
Frenchies.
Yeah,
they had just
beautiful
when I was there. They had just signed Bryce Harper, and you couldn't get a ticket for spring training that year. And I was able to, through a good friend of mine, Quincy Wilker, his brother-in-law is Rob Thompson, and he was with the Phillies at the time, and so he was able to get us tickets. But what a great stadium that is.
There's quite a few, though. George Steinbrenner's right across from...
The second year I went to
Tampa
spring
Bay's.
training, I stayed kind of like on the highway in Clearwater, so I could go Dunedin, Clearwater, Tampa.
It's a bit of a jaunt, like, to go in between, right? Like Tampa Bay over to Clearwater is about 45 minutes to an hour.
It can be, depending on the traffic.
Tough,
yeah.
But But the Phillies complex in Clearwater to the Jays in Dunedin is pretty close.
Yeah.
My buddy lived like 3 blocks from that complex. So we would go to all the Phillies games. And then when the Jays, so the deal was he would put me up and then I would take us to the games.
Okay.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, pretty good
right?
deal.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they had Frenchies there out in left field and, would go and load up there. Like, it was just a great atmosphere. You got people sitting on the grass in the outfield. And
You ran into Tim Morrell one year, too, I heard.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was in Dunedin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was telling me about. He goes, "Do you know Gary Ray?" I said, "Not really." No.
Unfortunately.
Why do you ask?
Yeah.
But,
he connected with me, and we ended up going to a game in Dunedin.
Yeah.
And so I said, Rouser, I'm heading to a bar. I'm meeting some friends there. And I said, come on. And he goes, yeah. He says, I'll be there. And he doesn't show up. And I'm texting him. And he goes, yeah, my wife didn't think it was a good idea.
She said, who? Gary Ray from
I
Stratford?
don't give a crap
Yeah,
who he
you're
is.
not going.
You're not going with that guy.
So 4 seasons you got to go down there to spring training.
2 seasons.
2 seasons,
Yep,
I'm sorry.
14, 15.
14, 15. And so when you saw the morale of the 15 season, like I say, it didn't really come to fruition till about halfway through. So when you see like spring training, it's a lot of people who aren't going to be there and stuff like that. There's pitchers taking reps. It's Russell Martin trying to figure out how to catch the knuckleball. Like, what catches your eye most with your experience at spring training for the MLB?
Well, I guess in hindsight, from what that team became, the thing that stood out to me about spring training was like how cliquey it was.
Really?
Like, you'd go to the complex and, all the white bros were over here and then all the Latin guys. And
Was it Josh Donaldson that changed that, or who was it?
Donaldson came in the next year. So, and then there was like Mooney Kawasaki, like bouncing between.
Yeah.
all
Oh, yeah.
Bush
Yeah,
potty.
yeah, yeah.
Bush potty.
Bush party.
Um,
But Tulowitzki,
yeah,
David
Tulo-
Price.
Well, so David Price came at the trade deadline,
Right.
which I think is
Right.
kind of where you're going. Like,
Yeah.
that's when, they were kind of middling and then took off.
Because there was
August,
a huge
September.
disconnect. And just calling a spade like you were, like it was the Dominicans and Latinos, it was
Yep.
the whites, and it was this, and it was very dysfunctional from what I understand.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like,
And
how was Batista? Like, was he a good teammate? Like, what was he like?
he was a big personality.
Right.
Okay.
Like,
Well said.
Yeah.
I loved Batista as a player, but he, I don't know if it was he commanded the locker, the clubhouse.
Right. He
And-
was
and-
the show.
And I don't know, I don't know if it was in a good way or a bad way.
Right.
But he was a presence. Like, he walked into the clubhouse one morning and was yelling about someone taking his parking spot.
Really.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know if
Just
that's
kind of petty.
Well, I don't know if that's just who he was. Like, like he seemed upset, but
Right.
I don't know if that's just, if
Might
it was,
have been joking.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
'Cause, like,
I'm
you
a
hear-
fly on the wall. I don't know what.
Well,
what
because
it's like in there typically.
because you've got Anthopoulos who's like looking around, going, "We've got something here," and
Yeah, we're a piece or two away.
right. And so kudos to him for going out and stealing Donaldson, then getting Tulo at short. Then, like you said, I ended up going to the game. It was David Price's first game, and the Yankees were in town, and you had Alex Rodriguez playing for the Yankees. Like, it was ridiculous that night. Like, it was sold out. I could have. I ended up. I ordered the tickets like about a month in advance, when just as they were getting good and getting a few of these guys, and by the time they got David Price, it was pandemonium. Like, everybody wanted to go to a Jays game because they were just riding that high.
Yeah.
And I could have sold my ticket for like thousands of dollars, and I ended up taking my family there. And
Yeah,
like,
it was nuts. Like, that's when I started getting all sorts of requests to like go on radio shows and TV, and like I was on ESPN Sports Center to talk about
amazing.
David Price and the Blue Jays and like stuff that I didn't really want to do. Like,
Right.
I wasn't like I wanted to be a writer and like no face,
Yeah, because he drove up from Detroit, I remember.
Yeah.
They got him from the
Yeah.
Tigers.
Yeah.
He drives up, in his own car up
But
to
like
Toronto.
the spotlight that was on Toronto all of a sudden was nuts.
It's crazy.
And then interestingly, I left Yahoo to go to the Hockey News that October.
Okay.
So I started at the Hockey News like 7 days before Batista hit that home run,
Wow.
The bat flip.
the bat flip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
wildest
So I
seventh
wasn't
inning
actually around for the playoff run.
And so it's interesting. Like you've got Batista, who's a big presence in the room, but it all worked out going and getting the guys just surround and fill in the spots where Anthopoulos thought they were weak. And then on the flip side, you've got Shapiro and Atkins that thought that Teoscar Hernandez was a problem because he was a big presence in the room. And the story and you would probably know it better than us, but the story that I read was that after they blew it with the Mariners, you got John Schneider in the dressing room giving his, year-end speech. Everybody stopped what they were doing, sat on their stool and faced Schneider and listened to him, except Hernandez. He kept getting undressed, stood there, had his back to Schneider, and apparently Schneider went to management and said, get rid of him. Like, we got to change this culture. I don't know if that's true or not, but they just ended up taking that direction. I think they would have wished that they kept him looking at what happened, right? So you make some good decisions, you make some bad decisions,
Yeah,
Kikuchi to the Dodgers
right? And
today.
who knows? Yeah.
Toss.
No, to
Teo might
Angels.
be back.
No,
Angels.
Kikuchi.
to the Angels.
Angels.
Oh, I'm
Angels.
sorry.
Yeah, he went to
The other
Angels.
LA team.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Holly's voice
Yeah,
there.
I think there's
the
a lot
LA
to be
team or the other LA
Yeah.
team?
there is something to be said for vibes and stuff that Teoscar's obviously good,
Right.
but I always use this example and I'll bring it up again. I covered the 2013 World Baseball Classic in
Arizona?
In Arizona. Remember there was that big Canada Mexico
Yep.
brawl.
Yep.
And at the end of the tournament, Canada kind of flamed out, and somebody asked Joey Votto about the makeup of the team, and said you guys have all played together, you came up together, didn't you think that would account for something like that? And he said I don't know, I don't really believe in chemistry and everything. I believe in talent, and we didn't have enough talent to compete with these other teams,
Right.
and I mean, Votto's always very honest,
Yeah.
but I thought that was eye-opening because it's such a cliched, hyperbolic platitude to say, we've got such a good room, and we all get along, and there's
Right.
no cliques here. But you lost, and because you weren't good enough,
Right.
And
Yeah.
he recognized that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my point, I think, with Teoscar is that he brings that chemistry and the vibes, but he's also a piece that they need,
Right.
right? More than Eric Swanson.
Right, exactly. And and you watch them, you had Vladdy and Teoscar. I don't want to call them ringleaders, but when people would hit home runs, they were the guys throwing, the sunflower seeds in people's faces and stuff like that. And they took away the coat, after they hit the home runs, after Teoscar left. And Vladdy, when he starts right at the All-Star break, he starts turning his season around this year. Lo and behold, they bring the jacket out,
Yeah.
right? They need to sign him this year. They know that they're in there's no chance of them getting, Soto.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
No,
I'm not
exactly.
watching plans.
Exactly. And so, yeah, it's just interesting, with you being able to get into, the rooms with these guys and going to 5 Grey Cups. That is so cool, for you to be able to do that. And then on a daily basis, if you want to. Now, would you be the one going in, or you're just more, editing what your writers write?
Yeah, just editing.
Okay. Yeah, so you're not going into the Leaf Room daily or anything like that.
No.
But
I don't have much interest in that.
right.
I gave that up when I really chose to focus on editing.
Gotcha. Unbelievable. But
It's fabulous.
yeah, I could sit here and talk for another 2 hours, Scoop, just sports and that in general. But
Yeah.
definitely got to have you back on. Let's go over those dates once again for anyone that joined late. You've got the book launch Friday, December 6th.
Yep.
7 till 10 at the Bunker.
Bunker. That's right.
104 Wellington Street,
104
Stratford.
Wellington. Yeah, so books will be on sale there. Come buy a book, have a beer.
Is there alcohol serving there? Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got their
Oh,
license. Oh yeah,
Nice. No, I've never been in there. I've
Yeah.
drove by it a gazillion
I haven't
times.
either. I
Never
haven't
been
either.
in, but it looks like a cool place. I see people coming and going, weekend nights, and it looks like it's a fun place. So
Yeah. So if people pop in expecting a band and they're disappointed to see me, hang out anyway.
right,
Buy a book and hang
Yeah,
out.
buy a
Yeah.
book, right? The juniors aren't playing, so
Yeah.
why not? So then the next night is the 7th at the Irish game.
Yep. I don't remember who they're playing. Petroleum, maybe. But
I forget. I
yeah.
did know who it was, but
yeah.
Yeah, so-
but yeah, I'll be set up there before
have
the
a
game.
table in the lobby.
First intermission, and then December 13th, Stratford St. Mary's.
That'll be a big one.
That'll be a big one, and then I'll be around until the books are gone.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Well, as a collective, we really want to thank you for your time. It's been so great to have such a familiarity with what you wrote about. We're all huge fans. He's a product of the Junior B team in this town, and the thing that I really like the most is that you've gone above and beyond the whole hockey culture. It's the actual building itself, the bricks and mortar, if you will. And Ian, I just really wanted to thank you for your time tonight, and just if you don't mind, if you want to join us in the future, you always have an invitation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it. I appreciate all the
Yes.
kind words, and it's just been a passion project. Doing it during my free time. A lot of
Well,
late nights
congratulations.
and
Right.
sneaking into town to go to the archives, and racing back home to Toronto. And
right.
So I'm glad it's over, and I'll be relieved when
When you sell out,
I
Right.
sell out. That's
Yeah.
right.
Folks,
I
I'm
think
not
you're
just
gonna-
I'm
it's
not
a
just
great book.
saying it. Like honestly, just leafing through it,
Yeah.
it is a great read. Like it is a great coffee table book, because it's the type of book where you're going to read one story and you're going to look at a picture, and then you're going to get into the next one. It's only going to take you a few minutes to read each blurb, but it just flows, and it's historical, it's entertaining, I love it. I love it.
and it just deserves a big congratulations for your effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a fabulous,
Yeah.
fabulous piece coffee table book. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it in front of people.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
All right, boys.
Awesome.
Yep. It's that time. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation.
And folks, just please remember to tune into our social media channels. Basically, it is Facebook and Instagram. You'll get updates. You'll get different little pics that we decide to put on, and we certainly appreciate your support. And thank you again also for watching our Armchair Chirper YouTube channel.
I think that's it.
All right.
Good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Cheers.